There are 5 broad basic categories of stories that storytellers tell: folk tales, fairy tales, personal narrative, historical stories, and original stories. I mostly tell folk tales, fairy tales, and personal narrative. The stories you'll hear me tell during our visit are folk tales and fairy tales. Folk tales are traditional stories that were started and told by common, everyday people, or folk. These stories were passed down orally from generation to generation. Folk tales often have things like talking animals or wise advisors, but these stories don't center on magical elements, and so they're considered folk tales and not fairy tales. Fairy tales are also traditional tales that were passed down from older generations to younger generations. But fairy tales are centered on magical elements, and these stories usually take place in imaginary lands. Fairy tales often center on big ideas like good versus evil, and brains versus foolishness, or luck versus misfortune, generosity versus greed. Fairy tales deal with these topics because they're supposed to teach us something about what is good and virtuous in life.